Hello, my beautiful African people. Welcome to Hail and Ride Africa. Today we are going to talk about a very important topic, African finances. How African leaders give their people's money to every group in the world except their people. African leaders give away most of their money away to the Chinese, Western countries, Asians. And we have this culture of giving people that doesn't resemble us large bulk of our money. This is our old weakness and is self-destructive. It doesn't take rocket science to understand that every group tries as much as possible to keep their wealth within their people. The dominant society, the Chinese, the Jews, etc. all keep their wealth circulating among themselves. Meanwhile, anytime some contract worthy $100 million and above are awarded for some project in Africa, these contracts go to the foreign companies. To add insult to injury, most of these projects are white elephant projects that add little or nothing to the local economy, and the money for that contract are borrowed anyway. This insane way of doing business has been going on for ages, and you wonder why so many people are poor in Africa and the best we got are all leaving the continent. This way of doing business is like fetching water with a basket. You know it is an impossible task. Africa will continue to be in bottomless hole if this doesn't stop. It seems at this point that some of our African leaders got no plan or plans for their own people. Once those punks and corrupt leaders have a mosquito bite, they will travel abroad for medical attention. Instead of equipping their local hospitals and pay the best of our medical doctors good money to stay in their own country. In 2022, Cameroon hosted African Cup of Nations and they spent $885 million in renovating and upgrading their infrastructure for the tournament. This is according to African Business Online Forum report. 70% of this money went to foreign companies, which were the ones those contracts were awarded to. You see how we spend big money, but this money doesn't stay in Africa. Let's keep it moving. Nigeria conducted presidential and state elections in 2023, which cost $157 million in procuring the electronics device used in that election. This is according to This Day Nigeria. 80% of this money left Africa because those electoral materials were supplied by a foreign company. There are numerous examples where people in charge in Africa put money into the pocket of people from different parts of the globe instead of putting the money in the pockets of their own people. There are cases of people in the leadership position that went ahead and built, for example, airport in a city or place where 90% of people cannot afford to travel by air. The sad reality about this is that those airports cost millions of dollars to build, and they are built by foreign companies who will probably take more than half of the hard currency to their own homeland, while the locals continue to live in poverty and in despair. I remembered what Russians said at the beginning of Russian-Ukrainian war. They said, and I quote, "What is the purpose of the world if Russia is not in it?" What they meant was that they cannot accept a world in which Russia has no power and people tell them what to do. Bear in mind that they got nuclear weapons, which if push comes to shove, they will unleash it on their enemies. Let me add a disclaimer here. Just because I quoted the Russians doesn't mean that I support them. I don't support them, and I don't support the West as well. I am against war. Having said that, I understand the concept of internal war. As you can see, that this is a violent world, and conflict can never come to an end as long as this world continues. However, time will come when some citizens of African countries will begin to ask what is the purpose of Africa or black people in general if they continue to be at the bottom and people cannot afford to live a decent life in a place blessed with abundant natural resources. This is the end of the video. Thank you for watching, and see you in our next video. Peace. Hello my beautiful African people. Welcome to